I will call the meeting to order. Historical Commission, Monday, November 18th. As a reminder, we are a recommending body. If there are public comments, we will take them at the podium. That is live streaming. We won't take comments on the live stream. So item number 1 on the agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes from October 21st. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item number 2, 205 South Queen was here for conceptual in May, I believe. So if you want to reintroduce yourselves and then go through the presentation tonight.
Okay. Good evening, I'm Gary Weaver with Tippett Weaver Architects. With me this evening is Ben Eby, who's head of facilities for Water Street Mission, and John Sullenberger from Tippett Weaver Architects as well. And as Chris said, we did present this project some time ago conceptually. We've developed it a little bit. We'll take you through the drawings and sort of show you where we're at this point. So on the screen right now, you can see the existing building at 205 South Queen Street, the existing Teen Haven facilities, a one-story building, and we'll show you in the context that it's a little bit out of context with the neighboring properties. Here's the site, and as we look at the overall site, it fronts on South Queen Street. It also comes to Farnham Street, so it's a building that meets the corner at that intersection. The orange area is the entire site, which is really 3 parcels. There's an elevation change from Queen Street to Christian Street of about 1 floor. And so we have an entrance at Queen Street at the lower level or first floor level. We have an entrance at the back of the building at the 2nd floor level, which comes out to the parking area that's at that level. Just quickly run through sort of the history or some of the history of the site, and I appreciated Suzanne's historical background on the site. You can see in 1886, there was a single-family home that sat sort of in the middle of the site, another structure towards Christian Street in the back, and then by 1912, there were really 2 residential structures that sat on the site, and I believe Suzanne's history told us that one of those belonged to or was owned by Milton Hershey. I think the primary house for Milton Hershey might have been over here. Which would be, that location over there, So, just to kind of go through the existing conditions, obviously the yellow area is the site. It is 3 separate parcels right now. As part of this project, we're combining those 3 parcels. The kind of orange area is the footprint of the existing building. You can see parking across the front of the site and then also parking at the back. There is an access along the south side with a set of steps that makes up the elevation change from Queen Street up to the parking lot. And on the right-hand side, you can see some of the photos of the existing building. At the bottom, we're looking north on South Queen Street, and obviously the Teen Haven building is right in this location. And then the photo at the top is the existing building from the parking lot at Christian Street. Existing floor plan, just to quickly take you through, it's one large open volume on the first floor. It's really a kind of gym space or a large group meeting space. I think sometimes it gets used for a small church. There's some other storage and office spaces at this end, a kitchen and some bathrooms and program space at the back. The second floor is really just this section up here and some mechanical space that's in here. So the existing elevations, relatively simple, or one might even say mundane. So, South Queen Street facades along the top, and so you can kind of see the context. Our project site is right here, the 1-story structure that we've talked about, and you can see typically everything along here is 2, 2.5, 3 stories, with the exception of the site that we're talking about. And then down below, we have the East Farnham Street elevations. And again, 2.5 stories or 3 stories like the building next to us. We're kind of showing blocks of sort of massing that we think is perhaps more appropriate for the infill of what we're proposing to do. Kind of maybe some way of filling in the block and terminating the existing building that's there. This is an early study that we did, conceptual study, which is kind of what we've kind of developed at this point. Really doing a monopitch piece that was at the corner of South Queen and Farnham Street, raising the height of the building, sort of terminating this gabled structure that's here currently, creating a new entry point with a lot of glass, and so really moving the entry to Teen Haven to this kind of more obviously identified entry point, a little bit of a canopy here, and then some area up above where we can get signage for identification. As we were working through some of these early studies, we started to look at ways of maybe dealing with the front of this facade, which currently is fairly mundane and doesn't really identify what the use is, and we came up with this notion of sort of a datum line across the heads of the windows, and then really looking at some sort of mural piece that runs across the facade. One of the things that happens here is there's sort of a check-in at the front desk in the summertime, and then oftentimes the kids go up this set of steps to the parking area behind for some of that camp, programs. And so we were thinking something that sort of leads you around the corner and up the steps was sort of maybe a nice way of handling that. So with that, we'll just jump into what the solution for the project is. It's really a very small addition on the north end. It's filling in between the existing building and East Farnham Street. We're creating a new entry and sidewalk area here, a little bit of landscaping on the corner, redoing some of the sidewalk across the front, but you can see a relatively small addition to the building. On the first floor plan, really an entry area, reception, maybe waiting, one larger meeting room or program space at the back, and then a set of stairs that goes up to the second floor. And on the second floor, really 2 program spaces and a bathroom. So pretty small, simple addition. Where we're at on the development of the elevations at this point is kind of developing that original concept. The new addition, this piece over here, and we'll talk about some of the materials, and we have some of the actual samples of materials that we can go through. But essentially, a brick base, aluminum storefront entry piece, a metal siding for the second floor level, and sort of making this backdrop here for the signage for Teen Haven, and then development of this mural piece that comes across the front. We are going to paint all the brick on the front and turning the corner at this point, and then working on this mural. At this point, we've started some initial discussions with the group out of Harrisburg called Sprocket Mural Works. They've done a lot of work in Harrisburg and also in York, and seemed to be very interested in the community engagement of it. We thought it might be a perfect opportunity to get some of the kids at Teen Haven and the community involved in really developing that mural that runs across the front. The lower elevation is along Farnham Street. So again, you can see brick that runs along the base, punched openings with aluminum windows, metal siding, and the roof system. We did start with a standing seam metal roof. We're now back to a fiberglass, asphalt fiberglass roof. So, and then some renderings just to kind of show the character of what we're proposing. There is, I should have mentioned, there is a green infrastructure project that the city's working on in this intersection, and so some sort of green infrastructure and planting that's likely going to be in that area, and then low planting that we're showing here at the entrance, little canopy piece that makes the entrance to Teen Haven. Farnham Street elevation. And then, maybe we can just look at the materials that are up here on the table, but the brick that we've selected for the project is this kind of iron spot, kind of red-brown color, a little bit darker than what's typical of some of the red brick of Lancaster. But we kind of like the texture of it and, the sort of pattern, since it's right down at the street where people are passing the building and so forth. Sort of a gray-colored fiberglass, asphalt fiberglass roofing shingle. The profile of the siding is this sort of narrow dimension fluted siding. This is not the right color that's up here. I think the color of the siding that we're headed towards is this sort of medium warm gray color. The aluminum storefront and windows will be the dark bronze, and then we have a slightly darker aluminum color for all the fascia at the top. The one, and the color that we're looking at painting some of the brick is this sort of medium tone tan color. We do have some cast stone sills that show up on this elevation, at the base of the windows. Sample that we have here is a little too red, but we want something that's pretty close to the color of the brick. And then on the south elevation, because we have the kind of gable roof coming into the end of this, we decided to do that end elevation in the stucco finish, and so that's really this material that's here. I think that one other item we did want to mention is right now we're showing the entry piece on the front, this kind of very simple canopy piece that comes out. We are showing an aluminum finish around the perimeter. We're currently showing the ceiling in there as a natural finish wood, and that's why we have the natural wood that's out there as part of it. So that's really what we're proposing for the project.
Okay. Thank you. Comments or questions?
I have just a question. Gary, why wouldn't you just wrap the metal siding around the south side rather than introduce another material?
That's where we were originally, and quite honestly, we ran into a situation where we had a weird offset with the way the new building met the existing building, and so there was already an offset in that wall, which seemed like maybe it was a logical way of, changing materials at that point. It also was a little easier to make the connection to, the roofing that comes into it at that point. And thirdly, we have a budget. I mean, there's been a couple changes on the budget, which, originally the standing seam metal roof was something we really liked, but that, was substantially more than the asphalt fiberglass. And so a couple of these things are compromises on budget, so.
I'm just wondering then if your kind of the budget dictates that you use stucco, if it could be closer in tone and color.
Yeah, I think what we did want to do is we recently did a project where we ended up with a metal siding, and again on budget ended up having another portion of the building that ended up being a stucco, and we ended up coming back and doing vertical grooves in that stucco. I think in that case it was actually horizontal grooves, but and the texture of that we felt worked out pretty nicely. And so I think on this particular project we'll probably do the same thing where we have a rhythm of a vertical groove in that siding to at least give it some dimension.
How's the mural being put on there? Is it going to be painted on the brick?
So what we've heard from the Sprocket folks is there's a couple different ways that they do that. Sometimes they paint on the building. Sometimes they paint on a sort of fabric that's on the ground, and then that gets adhered to the face of the building. So there's a couple different ways of doing it. And we're really at the early start of those discussions, but it could be either of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they did it on the fabric, could that be replaceable?
Can it be replaceable?
If the mural got old looking?
Yeah, I think so. Quite honestly, from the discussions that we've had with them, the material is very durable, and I think they've had some of that material up in locations in Harrisburg and New York for 10 plus years without, any deterioration of it. So, I'm sorry?
I meant to the eye,
It's like
Oh, if you got,
make it something else.
yeah, I suppose,
Down the road.
yeah, it's like paint, so I suppose you can always,
So you're not proposing to stucco that wall?
We're not proposing to stucco that wall, no. We're proposing to paint the brick and then go over top of that, yeah.
I've been involved in a few murals downtown that have been painted on stucco. And the repair work that goes into making the stucco a vinyl surface is, can be extensive.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, if you could do it right on the brick or
Yeah.
fabric as you.
I mean, at this point, we don't know, I mean, the whole discussion around the mural's pretty, I mean, we know that's the concept. We don't know exactly what the image is going to be yet. I think in many cases, what happens is the image comes out of the whole process of having that community engagement and so forth. And so we don't know what that final graphic is going to be, but conceptually, we like the idea of having something that sort of brands the building and tells you about what goes on inside as opposed to what you see there currently. So.
What we would be recommending tonight is just a monotone, just a color painted on the brick. You're just painting the brick.
We're painting the brick as a starting point, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't really want to have to come back when we decide that we, are doing that mural. Or do we have to do that?
I don't think
No,
so.
we don't
That's not something we-
regulate paint.
I think that legitimately would be considered art and is not reviewable by
Right.
the Historical Commission.
Okay.
It's when you're concealing an entire wall, the mural becomes more than paint.
Part of
The
the, yeah,
material that's concealing the whole wall becomes a wall material.
okay,
This is just kind of in between the doors.
yeah.
It's in between the windows at this point. We did stop it at the heads of the windows as opposed to, doing the entire wall. So,
You can still see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
Other thoughts? Any comments from the public? We have a huge turnout tonight. Yeah, I think it's a great project and glad you guys came back after initial concept and it worked out, so. Is there a motion?
Just one more question.
Yeah.
Does the existing roof get replaced?
At this point, we were not planning on replacing the existing roof as part of this project. So probably Ben could tell us about how old or not old the roof is.
It's within the last 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's.
So it's coming shortly.
Sometime.
Yeah.
But not,
So the
hopefully
new
not soon.
asphalt is close in color to the existing?
At this point, we chose a gray asphalt that we think goes well with where we're headed, and quite honestly, I think they're on different planes, and so we're not really visible,
Okay.
so,
Like,
yeah.
So they can use that
And maybe when we change the roof,
down there.
when we change the roof on the rest of the building, we can get it to match properly.
All right, unless there's any other comments or questions, does someone like to make a motion for new construction?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. I recommend the City Council approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed new construction at 205 South Queen Street to construct a new two-story addition to the existing building's north elevation at East Farnham Street, to include a west entryway with a metal awning and featuring a brick base, corrugated metal siding, and aluminum storefront windows, to include removal of two existing gable entry door hoods on the north and south bays per the submitted plans and proposed materials. This work meets the Secretary of Interior Standards number 9 and the design standards.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Since there's not demolition involved, you can go straight to City Council, which is next Tuesday, November 26th, which you do not have to attend, but you're welcome to do so, and I'll send you the motion language tomorrow.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is 111 North Prince Street. Steve and I will, this is being presented by our office, so we will not be making comment, but we won't formally recuse ourselves until the voting application. So once you get set up, if you both want to introduce yourselves, and then you can go through the project. Can you make sure I think the mic, if you push it should turn green. There you go.
There we go.
Thank you. I think-
Okay. All right. My name's Kelsey Gibson. I'm from Murata Main Architects, and I'll be presenting the Lancaster Parking Authority Prince Street Garage Offices project for the conceptual review. So this project is located obviously on North Prince Street. Many of you have seen it before. The Helix is pretty notable in the city. While the surrounding context of this building is very historical, the garage itself is not, and it stands out in this location on this block. We have a few photos of the surrounding context. As you can see, across the street, the vernacular of the surrounding buildings are masonry. They are 2 to 3 stories high. The ground floors are typically storefronts or entries engaging the public, shops, and the upper stories are typically residential residences. The garage itself is 7 to 8 stories. It is masonry. It is the mass of it stands out on this block. It doesn't follow that typical vernacular. We have the overall existing ground floor plan. You can see here the extent of the project is really regarding the office itself and some of the facade. The gray hatched area is where we're proposing to have a small building addition, and then we'll have exterior alterations and interior renovations. On the side here, you can see from the street the existing office. You can see how set back it is from the sidewalk itself. It almost disappears. This is just a floor plan of the office itself, an existing scan. And then we have the existing building elevations. On the lower right, you can see where we're calling out the area of work as regards to the facade itself. I'll touch briefly on our floor plan. Like I said before, the gray poche is where we are proposing our building addition. It gives it a stronger street presence. This building was formerly LPA's offices. They've moved to their Orange Street location. So we're proposing a new use in this space for artist galleries. They would be micro galleries since we're along the gallery row area. In the back third of the space, it would remain as LPA use for their maintenance staff. For the facade, we are introducing aluminum storefront on the ground floor. This gives a sense of transparency and street presence. It follows the vernacular of the surrounding buildings. We have a small awning above the entrance and our recessed doors. Above the first floor, we're proposing a perforated metal panel. And then above that, there would be a vertical banner system that's mounted perpendicular to the garage facade itself. So by adding these elements, we are breaking up this very horizontal facade and giving more verticality and the illusion of height, while also being mindful of the surrounding buildings and also considering the new construction that's taking place across the street right now. Here we have the same view, but at night we're proposing the banners to be lit So that gives eyes on the street in the evening. You're bringing activity to this block. And then we have another view here. In the daytime, again, you're seeing the storefront on the ground level, not our transparent, but our mesh panels above, and then our banner system. Aside from the banners and the panels and the storefront, this would be the extent of work or exterior alterations to the facade itself. And then we have this view at night. And for our proposed materials, like I said, we will have aluminum storefront on the ground level. Above that, there would be a perforated metal panel system that allows for ventilation, and it's appropriate for the garage use. And then above the metal panels, there will be a perpendicular wall-mounted banner system.
It's the last slide.
Yep.
Since this is conceptual, are there comments or questions, suggestions?
For when you showed the materials on the
Sure.
last slide, the mesh looks gray, but is it really blue?
Yeah, it would be blue. Right now, that's just showing the texture of that panel.
Okay.
That's not the actual final finish.
And then on the storefront, is that glass yellow?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's tying in with the stair tower at the Christian Street garage, that yellow glass.
At the Christian Street garage?
Yeah.
Oh, on the other side. I don't think that we could do much worse than the parking garage, so. I keep telling people that there'll be a generation that will want to save, these concrete structures, but it won't be me.
That's honest.
But, I think that I like the design. The yellow does throw me a little bit just because it is, I don't know if people would realize that tie-in. But that's my only comment, really. I think that it's it'll be a good use of the building, and it'll help fill in that long stretch where there's really not much going on. But it'll also, it'll enhance and bring people out to that area.
Yeah, I agree. I think it does bring some verticality to a very horizontal space. And I was going to ask a similar question about the colors. The red and the blue banners, I'm just curious as to kind of how you landed on that. Or is this just, are you set on those colors, or are you thinking about others?
Right now, this is conceptual.
Okay.
So the banners allow for flexibility, and they can be interchangeable. So we're just showing solid colors for right now, and we'll be continuing to work out the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Are the banners considered commercial signage, or they're just embellishment? Depending what they're saying.
Yeah. Reading the signage ordinance, it does read that the banners are considered commercial signage. I don't think it's necessarily that they have words. I mean, there is a section for banners in the commercial district, so that's what we were following.
Given the mass of the building, I think this amount of signage probably would meet the zoning ordinance. just based on a percentage of the street frontage. I just think it's nice that, like, you're creating a new facade that's more in keeping with the patterns of the neighborhood. You know, you're kind
Yeah.
of creating a 3-story facade that does kind of speak to the buildings across the street.
John, do you have any comments? No.
I like it. I don't know if it's for it or not. I don't know what you would, but yeah, I think it's great.
Thank you.
Could always use more artist space, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's adding and contributing to that whole gallery row section, which will be awesome.
Yeah.
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 Any other comments? Okay. Is there a public comment? Okay.
Are those new trees or existing trees?
Those are actually existing trees. Yeah, there are 3 existing trees fronting this side of the garage, and they would be remaining in place. That we're not removing any trees.
Just for clarity, those are rendered trees, not trees from a photo though, right? So
Correct.
that's not the exact look. of the
Correct.
trees that
It's
are
not
there.
the exact look.
They're very well
Yes,
trimmed.
very manicured trees out front. Yeah, I think I had.
Oh, yeah, do you have?
Yeah,
there
you can see this one, the one in the rear.
That's
can't really-
2.5
yeah.
trees, maybe.
Okay, 2.5.
That subject with your client.
See if that one's alive.
Are those geckos?
I don't think so. I'm not quite sure on the species.
The little one looks dead.
Right. Anything else? All right, thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Look forward to coming back in the future.
We'll be back next month, I think.
All right, that are the only 2 applicants tonight. Other business for anybody here? We don't have to send anybody to city council. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Steve, you like the motion?
So moved.
All in favor to adjourn, say aye. Aye, all right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.